Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
And a very happy Monday morning to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show audience. Thanks so much for spending time with us. Hope you had a great Mother's Day weekend. It is the morning, 2 mornings after. Yikes. We're going to talk about the Cavs and their disappointing showing in Game 3, but there's reason for hope because Game 4 tonight at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We're going to go in depth on the Cavs. What about Jarrett Allen? We've got some news on him. Is Donovan Mitchell dinged up tonight? There's some reports floating around. Nothing we can verify, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. What's the right lineup? Like we're 3 games in now. You tend to get an idea what works against an opponent. We're going to talk about one lineup, one rotation in particular that Jason Lloyd really seems to love. Is that the key to beating the Boston Celtics? Also, some Browns news. We're going to talk about a new offense, a potentially new offense. Is it the right fit? Will we see it? We've been told the last 2 years, wait until you see this offense.
We've been told early and often, this is what it's supposed to look like, Jay.
It looks fine in training camp.
Or POs.
It just never made it over to Cleveland Browns Stadium.
We never got that.
Will we get it this year? New guy in charge? Perhaps we will. We're going to talk about that. Also, the Guardians, rough start to their road trip. They lost the first 3 to the Chicago White Sox, which I understand have advanced to the regional round now, the Little League World Series. So that's good. They salvaged it with a nice win yesterday, but there are signs this team is leaking oil. We're going to talk about that. How much concern is there around the fact that the Guardians' first 25 games was a mirage, and it's not the real Cleveland Guardians? We're going to get into that and much, much more. But first, our first hello of the day to Mikey McNuggets back there.
What's
hey,
up,
Mike.
guys? It is
What
a
up?
playoff game day. It feels really low energy. For
I
a
was
playoff
just
game
going to
day.
say, I can't remember a time where there was a big game like this and there's been such low energy. I just don't feel it. I don't feel it from the fans. I don't feel it from this group. I mean, I think it's because we watched us get our ass kicked in Game 3 and we thought, okay, so Game 2 was a fantasy.
Yeah, we got, I can't get too mad because, I just don't think they got the horses. I don't think they just got what it takes right now to beat the Celtics.
In the end, that might be it, Mike, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it happens.
You have a good weekend?
It was a good weekend.
Good.
Earl, you were at the game on Saturday. Was the crowd as advertised? And did it live up to what you expected it to be in the chaos
The crowd
that
was
we
lit.
thought could be? Yeah.
It was lit. The crowd was lit from
Difference
the start.
between first half crowd, second half crowd.
The crowd was lit in the second half. Boston came out strong in the third quarter, and it kind of deflated us early. But, lately, up until yesterday or Saturday's game, it had been a struggle to get the stadium full or the arena full before tip-off. But that wasn't the case Saturday night.
They were there and ready to go.
It
It
was
looked
there
like
ready
it
to
on
go.
TV.
Only thing is, man, and they was talking about this morning on the radio. So the Cavs put out the T-shirts before the games, and I just feel like this, right? So Ahmad Crump, he does a great job of hyping everybody up, and on the jumbotron in pregame, they go through the arena and they show the shirts on the seats and the fans, and it's a script that says put the shirt on. And yet people sit there and don't want to put the shirt on. And some people say, well, the shirts don't fit. The Cavs have, I think, guest services. You can go exchange the shirt on the seat for one that fits. If you go into the game and you want to be a part of the fanfare, put the damn shirt on. They put the shirts there for a reason. They're trying to create a certain atmosphere. Like, don't be a killjoy. Don't be a party pooper. Put the damn shirt on and get into the environment and that the home crowd, advantage that they're trying to create.
You know what else it is? I've heard this from people. Vanity. They don't want to cover up their fit.
Yeah,
I guess.
that's another thing, too.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, NBA games, whether we like it or not, more than any other sport, particularly the lower bowl seats.
It's a fashion statement.
It's all about being seen.
Yeah.
And so they work the fit, they get the right clothes, they get everything on point, and their hope is that they're caught for half of a second by one of the network television cameras, and then they can text out to everybody, "Did you see me on TV? I was on TV." And they don't want they want their on point outfit making them. They don't want that white.
I just think the Cavs do a great job of trying to create this dominant home court advantage in the playoffs. And, of course, that's part of the fanfare. That's part of it. But if you use Oklahoma City, for example, like they fans go to the games. They ain't got no problem put the shirts on. Like, just stop being a killjoy. Go put the damn shirt on.
Yeah, I agree.
And just be a part of
buy
the
into the atmosphere.
Yeah,
And it's only going to help.
Like,
Oklahoma. See, here's the thing. Ain't no. I ain't gonna say no cool people in Oklahoma City.
Their style, they're not. Well, you know what? They're sitting in Oklahoma City right now saying, "What style do they have in Cleveland?"
Like, yeah, right. Like the same thing, right? Like there is this thing to be said where it's like, man, I'm not gonna take it that serious. But I think everybody on that front row, if your feet is on the wood, pause, you're gonna be you gonna have a fit on.
Yeah, and you want it to be seen.
Yes.
Because you spent
At all times.
You spent too much money for that, just
And
like
the
you spent
seats.
too much money for that seat.
You're right. And then you sitting there like this.
I know, right?
You can't move. You're looking around like, I don't know. I hope I don't get ran over.
Isn't that one of the weirdest sort of traditions in sports? I mean, if you think about it, what other sport can you literally sit on the playing field, on the surface?
that's it.
It's crazy.
But you are literally, your feet, you could touch the out of bounds line with your foot.
And the coach is right in front of you.
Right
Like-
there.
Like I'm like, man, what if he got bad gas? Like is he like crop dusting everybody? Like that's crazy.
Oh,
and
my
you can't
God.
do nothing about it. You just gotta
Stuck.
take it. You
No,
just
you're-
gotta take
Yeah,
it.
you're stuck. Man, how much are those seats for Cavs playoff games? What are they
Playoff
going
seats?
for?
Hey, go on.
Let's go to StubHub and see how
No,
much.
no.
No,
Let's
go to game time. We go to game time.
Oh,
Game
that's
time's the
right.
only,
My goodness.
the only ticketing
What the
service
hell am I
we
doing?
use here on the Ultimate
You know
Cleveland
what's
Sports Show.
Here's
How
what we
dare
should
you,
do.
Jay?
We
How
should
dare
chip
you.
in and see if our watchers, our viewers, can donate enough money so we can buy one ticket and then we raffle that sucker off. Can you imagine?
That would be crazy.
That would be nuts.
That would be crazy.
Ant's on game time right now. Ant, give the people a little idea what they can get into tonight's game for.
I want them.
I'm seeing 501 if you want to be real close. If we're looking for some nosebleeds, they're as cheap as $94.
That's unreal.
There's nothing on the wood, though. Those 500, that's not courtside. That is
super.
the first section off the wood.
How much
Man,
is
that's
those?
too bad because
How much is the ones off the wood?
That's like 500.
that's unbelievable. In LA, that ticket's $10,000.
Yeah.
Cheapest ticket, $64.
That's insane.
And if you use game time, ticket prices go down the closer you get to tip off.
So
Yes,
if
you're
trying to
right.
get in.
And that is true. I had, there's, I don't want to say this person's name because maybe they don't want this discussed on air, but one of my colleagues up in the Channel 3 newsroom had a parent coming to town for Game 3 because this parent of hers is a Celtics fan. So they were looking for tickets. And as she was looking, she needed 4 tickets. As she was looking for tickets, she was like, oh my God, my dad can't believe how cheap these are. Because he's used to buying playoff tickets at TD Garden.
I bet he is.
And he was like, wait a minute, what? I mean, if they're so cheap, I'm going to get the best available. So they got 4 best available, which it was just a few rows off the court. And they got them at just an unbelievably cheap price. 4 tickets for, well under what you would pay for those same 4 tickets at TD Garden.
You know what? I will
Actually,
now.
real quick, I
Go
saw
ahead.
it for MSG Indiana for that series. Someone did a study on how much it costs for one courtside ticket to a Knicks Pacers game, like sitting courtside at MSG.
Yeah.
For the same price.
Yeah.
From New York, you could fly to Indiana,
Sure.
stay at the nicest hotel in Indiana, sit courtside in Indiana, and then fly back to New York for the same price.
Eat it.
It is
Eat at
just-
St. Elmo's every day that you're there.
Yeah, just for the price of the one ticket. So
Yeah, that's-
different cities, different.
And I'm
it's
sure
way,
if
way,
you would have
way
done the
different.
same thing for Boston and Cleveland, it would work out as well.
And check out game time for Game 5 prices in Boston. G, what were you saying?
I will now be sitting courtside.
You will not?
I will.
Oh, you will?
I'm going to find a game that I'm going to sit courtside now.
Go to the game today. Sit courtside.
No, I'm cool.
With your,
Might be the last one.
marketing,
Might be the
with
last
your
one.
marketing DNA, how everything you do has a marketing bent to it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, quite frankly, you haven't gone there with Panda stuff.
Yeah, listen, I'll go in there with a whole suit. Like the head, the panda head and everything. Like the whole, like with.
The poor bastard sitting behind you.
Yeah, he's like, come on, this dude, who is this guy? It's G. Bush. You know what it is. Like, yeah, I got it. Yeah, that's nice, man. Because at least, you know, I think people are under the assumption that you're doing much better than you are. So they're like, oh, well, these guys could afford courtside seats all the time. No. It's not. And if I could afford courtside seats,
I know that. I know
So,
that
hey, we got
feeling.
the ticket prices in Boston.
What are they?
So a courtside. So this is on the court.
Yeah.
And we want to read that price. This is for Game 5.
So sitting next to home bench between the scorers is $6,796.
There you go.
Now the same seats we looked at for 500 in Cleveland tonight. Oh, similar price.
Really?
If you're off to the side, yeah, it's about $533. Closer to the middle, you're looking at like $1,800.
So it just depends on where in the lower bowl.
Yeah. Well, if you compare the 1,800 to the 500, you're flying from Boston to Cleveland and back, and staying at the Ritz, and
couple nice
eating
dinners.
at Marble Room, and it's a wash.
the way my LLC and the government work is called taxes, and
You can write that off.
I know. I would have shot it. I would have done it, man. I'm
It's
currently
a business expense.
I know. I'm on a payment
Next
plan
year,
right
we
now.
will see G. Bush courtside.
Yes.
Gee, you could get, when they play like the Memphis Grizzlies
Oh.
on a random Tuesday night, you could sit on the wood for not very expensive in the grand scheme
Oh,
of things.
absolutely.
So what you going? Cavs versus Wizards or something?
I'm going. No, it's lighter than that. It's like Cavs versus.
Let's go at least Bulls.
Cavs Bulls.
That's
Pistons,
a boring game.
you get in for the Pistons.
Oh,
Pistons, they pay you to sit there.
Yeah. Listen.
Here's your seat and $1,000.
I might
Enjoy
even,
the game.
I might even bring my wife.
And a Little Caesars pizza.
Might.
Yeah, you're
All
right.
right, let's get into some stuff today, guys. We do have a playoff game to break down. And as always, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and much, much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And today's winning ticket comes from Chris Kovac, who hit a $1 four-part same-game parlay in Game 3 that turned out to win $15. So a 15-to-1 return on investment. Bet $1, win 15. Chris said for a single data 3, it puts gas in the car. So shout out to you, Chris.
All right, now it
for,
does.
Hey, that's double
paying
cheeseburger.
for
You know
gas.
why our winning ticket's so low? Because I bet a lot of Cavs fans bet on the Cavs to win, and we didn't have a lot of winning tickets in the area.
That is true. Speaking of formulas to winning, I have some numbers that are pretty eye-opening, guys.
Oh, boy.
Throughout this series, through 3 games, when Donovan Mitchell is on the court for the Cavs, they have a positive 5.9 rating. So plus 5.9 when Donovan's on the court.
What does that number mean? Do you know?
It's the difference in your offensive rating to your defensive rating. So essentially per 100 possessions.
Oh, okay, I got it.
You are 6 points
So if he
better
was
for
out there
100
for the whole game, on average, they would win by 6 points.
Yeah, it's translated to 100 possessions, but essentially, yes.
Okay, got it.
In the 24 non-Donovan Mitchell minutes this series,
Oh, boy.
the Cavs have a net rating of negative 65.9.
Are you kidding
Now,
me?
that's not a 66-point difference because it's per 100 possessions, Jay. So it translates out. But their offensive rating without Donovan on the court is just a 68.9. To compare that to what a regular, very bad offensive rating is, in the regular season, the Memphis Grizzlies had the lowest offensive rating in basketball. That was a 106.8. In those 24 minutes through 3 games against the Celtics without Donovan Mitchell, the Cavs' offensive rating is nearly 40 points lower than the lowest
my
offensive
God.
rating in the NBA.
That is, look, I've never heard that. I've never seen that
that's
kind of comparison.
crazy.
That is the single biggest indictment of a supporting cast
I've ever seen.
I would venture to guess that the only thing in NBA history that has come close to that would be the Cavs, the first year LeBron took them to the finals. I would love to have seen what the difference was with LeBron on the court and off the court, because that supporting cast was
You know what's so crazy?
weak.
He never came off the court. Remember the game?
No, I know. He was
Remember
young
the
and he
game?
played 48 minutes.
He played 48 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they would ask him, LeBron, how does your body feel? He's like, are you going to play 48? He's like,
I have to.
I got it.
ain't got
It
no
is
choice.
what it is.
Wow, that's
So yeah, they've been very
McNuggets.
bad when Donovan's on the bench. He has been a one-man offensive show. And my question to you guys is,
Oh my God.
he clearly needs more from Darius and Max Strus.
He needs
and
more from
Caris
everybody.
Levert, and frankly, everybody. Evan Mobley's the only player in this series who's averaging more points in this series than he did during the regular season outside of Donovan. Is there a way? And if the answer is no, then feel free to say no. But is there a way for the Cavs to unlock the other guys to give a secondary offensive punch to this Cavs offense, especially in the short stints where Donovan's not on the court?
I mean, for me, I'm going to say no. I feel like Donovan has done all he can to be master motivator. I feel like he's done all he can, game in and game out to try to, get Darius Garland going, to try to, just give these motivational speeches to get dudes hyped up and ready to play. The fact of the matter is, the rest of the team is just not scoring enough points. When you look at the points total scored in the 2024 NBA playoffs, Donovan Mitchell is second to only Jalen Brunson.
Wow.
He has 269 points scored. Meanwhile,
Now I wonder though. He had a 7-game series.
still, points are, right?
Right. But
here's the point I'm making.
Is this total points or
This
points
is total
per game?
No, this is total points
Because
scored.
I'd be interested to look at the points per game.
This is total points scored.
Yeah, I would expect him to be way at the top. He played 7 games.
Darius Garland is the next highest Cavalier in the playoff with 147. That ranks 24th amongst the top 25 players. Meanwhile, Boston has 3 dudes that ranks between 10 and 19. The point I'm making is you can do all the master motivating you want to do. You can do all this extra stuff. These dudes, for whatever reason, at this particular time, just can't find a way to put the ball in the basket. And I feel like when it comes to Darius Garland, he just I think he's trying to assert himself. For whatever reason, it's just not there. You can argue that the dude has really regressed. Since he signed that contract, and yeah, you do things like getting your teammates involved. Your assist numbers look better. The turnovers is down. But there was a particular possession that I can go back to and game 3 to where the Cavs had got a couple of stops. Darius came down, dribbled his life away trying to make a play. He tried to ended up running baseline. He gets caught in the air and he ends up throwing the ball away.
Yeah.
And it's
I remember that.
Instead of looking to get a shot, you're trying to look to create, and you can't even create right now. And so it's just overly frustrating to see nobody else is willing to step up. And then the other part of that is when I look at Max Strus and Georges Niang, these dudes was brought in specifically this offseason to try to counter what the Cavs' struggles were, knocking down open 3-point shots, right?
Worked.
And it hasn't worked at all. And so it's not just all on Darius Garland, but the 2 key additions that you signed this past offseason to help you once you got to this point haven't showed up at all throughout the playoffs.
Strus has had moments.
Yeah.
But he can't sustain
But
it.
it's just he's had moments. Darius Garland's has moments. Caris Levert had moments. People was talking to Mike in the post-game show about, his box score being 15 points. But that 15 points was empty. He had 0 points in the first 12 minutes he played when the game was actually close. And you could have made an impact on the game. None of these dudes are stepping up, Jay, in key moments, making key plays,
No,
right?
that's true. Mike, you had said that Donovan Mitchell points per game average is 6th in the playoffs.
Just below. He's averaging 29.6 points per game throughout the playoffs. Tyrese Maxey, who at 5, it was a 29.8, so 1.
Where is Mitchell points per game average in the playoffs?
6th.
No, I'm sorry, Garland.
Ooh, let me scroll. Garland is 38th, and Mobley is 40th.
Okay, so that's right there is your
and if
problem.
Jarrett Allen had enough games, he would have been 32nd.
Yeah, there's your problem. That you've got the guy pulling a wagon, and there are 4 pretty big guys in that wagon, and Donovan Mitchell's tired. You could see he is growing weary of having to put on a cape. What's most frustrating, and I'll answer quickly, G, so you can get your answer in there. To your pointed question, can they do it? We saw it. We saw it in Game 2. We've seen it for moments in this series. Again, I sound like a broken record, but this is just the facts. the most frustrating thing about this team is the variance between their ceiling and their floor is way, way too wide. They can look like, on any given night, a team that can contend for an NBA championship. The real problem is they did that for 6 weeks.
Right.
When they were 18-2. But they followed that up with a 13-18. So while they can be all-time great, they can also be all-time crappy. And if you have a team like that, you don't have a contender. You have a frustrating team. You know they can do it. We turned on the TVs and we saw it in Game 2. If you could duplicate that every night, now I know teams are going to throw in clunkers. Maybe Game 2 is a result of Boston finally throwing in a clunker. But from my eyes, I saw a team that was hitting on all 8 cylinders. Donovan Mitchell got everybody involved. All the other stars were carrying their weight. And then Game 3 happened. And in the span of 48 hours, we saw 18-2, followed by 13-18. And I put a lot of that on the head coach. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people want to protect him, and I wish he was better. I really, truly do. But you're the leader. You're the guy. You have to make sure that you don't have that big of a gap between 18-2 and 13-8, or Game 2 and Game 3.
Go ahead, because I got a response to that. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I think when you say we've seen them do it before, basketball is a sport when you're in the playoffs. The thing that matters more than anything is consistency. And consistency dictates whether or not you are really good or you're average or you're not good. And just because they show you in 5 or 10 minute spurts or game to game spurt that they can knock down shots, that doesn't matter. It's consistency. Can you do that night in, night out? Can you do that when you're open, knock down shots? Can you be disciplined enough to sit in the stance and not reach and play defense and do things like that? And they just can't do that. They've shown you they've been inconsistent all year. That's why there's not too much vitriol in what I'm saying. Second of all, we don't got ball players like that. I keep coming back to it. Max Strus is a bench guy. He's a bench player. Like, let's be clear. He was coming off the bench for the Miami Heat. He's giving you nothing. 6 points, that ain't gonna get it done. So you mean to tell me you're gonna start him? He's supposed to bring shooting. He's not shooting well. He is undersized. He's not a 3. He's not really a starting 2 guard. He really can't guard anybody. And defensively, half the reason that the Cavs are giving up all these points is because on the point of attack, Max Strus refuses to sit in a stance and stop reaching like he's taking the ball from somebody. These straight line drives right to the basket. Mobley's coming up trying to block shots, and they're just running right to the rack and finger rolling the ball and getting easy buckets. Darius Garland, same thing. Point of attack, easy money. And then you got Isaac Okoro, who listen. This is a number 5 overall pick. 2 points. Come on, like really, I just named 3 people, and then we haven't even got to the elephant in the room, Darius Garland. Darius Garland, to me, and I'll just say it, he's a high value role guy that should be coming off the bench. There's a bunch of people in this town thought he was great. Listen, at least Colin Sexton will give you 20. Listen,
do you see the possession right before halftime?
Just ridiculous.
I mean, that's I've been complaining about that all year. Late and close, I don't want that guy touching the ball.
He turned, and when you said it, I was screaming at my television. When he dribbled around in that circle, ring around the rosy,
left his feet,
jumped in the air, did a 360 pirouette, and threw the ball right to the other team, I said, all you people that are sitting here at home, I listen, if you supporting that at this time, I swear to goodness, you probably have never touched a basketball. It's time to get on people's basketball acumen at this point. I don't see no playgrounds out there. If you're under the age of 25, you ain't playing nowhere. Like, this is crazy. Like, and people say, it's like, give them a chance. In what world did I used to watch Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, and people talk about giving them a chance? Like, I watched the assassins of the league. Kobe and Shaq, and you saw LeBron here, boys and girls. So my point is, they don't got it. They got Tatum. They got 4 guys, include 4 or 5 guys that could give you. They got Porzingis that give you 20. White could give you 20. Drew Holiday can give you 20, and Tatum and Brown can hit you for 30. We got one guy.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Do we want to address this most recent tweet about Mitchell and?
Yeah, I have it actually ready. So Tim Bontemps is at shoot-around this morning. He's ESPN's NBA reporter.
And I feel like we have to acknowledge
We have to mention it. Yeah, so Donovan was listed as questionable yesterday. He's not at shoot-around this morning, according to multiple reports. Steve, you take tagboard full if you want. Tim Bontemps said it's a calf strain, which is news to me. I hadn't heard of the calf strain. I thought he was listed as questionable with the knee injury he's been dealing with since the end of February. Mitchell's a warrior. If he can play, he will play. But it definitely is not optimistic or a good sign when your star player, the guy who's carrying your offense on your back, is not at shoot-around. I would expect him to play.
I would
but
too.
His effectiveness with the knee and
that's
the calf
my concern. If
and
he's
I told
hobbled
Earl,
at all, the series is over.
Well, I told her before the series started, like, my big concern was he played great in Game 6 against Orlando. Great in Game 7. He played good in Game 5 too, but the last 3 games he was tremendous. There wasn't a ton of rest time between each of those games.
No, he's been on every other over
for
2
almost
weeks.
2 weeks now, and for a guy who needed the rest for Game 1 to kind of recover, that's a hell of a toll on his body. So I'm hoping this is just precautionary.
I can't remember him having a calf all year.
But you know
It
what,
was
though?
his knee, yeah.
That's always been the knee.
That kind of goes back to what we talked about last week, us three on this panel. 98% of the time, a lot of these players is dealing with injuries or dealing with stuff that we don't know about. All we know about is what's reported. We've known about the knee, and I can only assume because he's out here playing his ass off, trying to guts it out game in and game out, that, you know, he's putting some other restraint on other parts of his body.
Right.
But it goes to show, like, the warrior mentality, because not only is this dude continue to play every single game, but Jay, he's playing efficient every single game, like on 1.5 legs.
It's insane.
He's still Euro stepping. He's still taking people off the dribble.
I have noticed a little diminish in his explosiveness. Mike, have you noticed that?
I've noticed
Not much.
it.
Vertical.
No,
It's just the vertical.
I agree.
Side
Right.
is fine. Vertical.
I agree.
but even with all of that, just the level of efficiency that he's playing, he is 7 3-pointers on Saturday night, and
5
it's
in
just
the
like
first half, right?
to see this dude continue to go out here and play like this, man. And we talk a lot about energy being transferable and people, like, you know, being able to feed off of that. I don't think he can do any more than what he's already done to show, like, okay, to try to will the troops and galvanize the troops, and it's just not working.
His injury status, I don't know. He is a reputable reporter. He just made an observation. He's not at shoot around. He's listed as questionable, did you say?
Yeah, and a couple other reporters who are Cleveland-based have also said the same thing.
Yeah,
where it's
so
listed as
we'll wait and
questionable,
see.
wasn't a shoot-around.
I guess let's do a read, and then we'll pivot to Jarrett Allen, who
Also is questionable.
literally on a milk carton because
Yeah.
of his ribs, which I think the Cavs undersold that at the time of the injury, but we'll get into more of that right after the
We'll
read.
talk Jarrett Allen in 1 sec, but first, eBay Motors, the place where passion, drive, and patience comes together. It's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available for U.S. customers. We talked about the Donovan Mitchell news. He's alongside Jarrett Allen on the injury report. Allen listed as questionable with the bruised ribs. It was a positive sign before Game 3, where Allen was seen participating in shoot-around and doing some slight warm-ups today. He was back on the court taking free throws at shoot-around this morning, so we didn't see Donovan Mitchell at shoot-around. We did see Jarrett Allen was taking some free throws. Tagboard's not working. Drop it. But that video really does show him play if Tagboard would decide to work. Guys, do you think we'll see Jarrett Allen tonight?
No.
No.
Make his return. He hasn't played since Game 4 against Orlando.
No.
I do. I do. I think that this is a sense of urgency. If the Cavs lose, the series is over. They're not coming back from 3-1 with 2 of them in Boston. I think Jarrett Allen knows that. They talked during the Game 3 telecast about how he was shooting the basketball before the game and did not seem to be in pain, obvious pain. Now, obviously, standing still and shooting around in practice and getting banged in the paint, that those are two completely different things. Pause.
Yes.
But
yes.
all of that said,
Yeah.
he knows what he knows what time it is. He absolutely knows what time it is. And it is back against the wall time. You've got 3 months to heal.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that he's not on the floor for tonight's game 4. But all that being said, I thought he would play the last 6 games too, and he did not.
I don't know the severity of the injury. I've heard multiple reports on how bad it is or if it's not as bad as people saying it is. I don't know. But I know when you're dealing with broken ribs, bruised ribs, or anything with your ribs, it makes it very uncomfortable for you to breathe, very uncomfortable for you to move. And it's not something that's just going to be all right and you back to normal in a couple weeks.
Right.
And I think that if it was something that he could have continued to have played through, he would have been played through it. Because, again, last segment, we just got finished talking about these players and these athletes go through a lot of things that we don't know about. So I can only assume how much Jarrett Allen had to go through in those 77 straight games that he played that we never heard about.
Right.
And then the games following game 1 when the injury apparently happened, and he tried to push through it. I just think at this point, knowing the situation at hand, if he could play, he would have been played. Now, if he's out there tonight, cool. But there's nothing in me that really makes me believe that he will be.
All right.
Man, I'm just, I just sat here and started thinking about all the times when I used to play and playing back in the day. And there was a thing, we had in the locker room where, if you was one of the best players on the team, you was supposed to step up. And what I mean step up is like you're supposed to take the responsibility of making sure that your teammates get picked up because they injured. Now we got Jarrett Allen with ribs. We got Donovan Mitchell with a knee and a calf strain, right? And I don't see Darius Garland, Max Strus, Isaac Okoro. I don't see those George Niang. I don't see those guys picking up these veterans, bro. Like there was like these guys are out there playing, trying to get back on the court. You're 100% healthy, as far as we know. You're good. You ain't got nothing wrong with you. But you coming out here, turning the ball over, and not even producing no points. You letting your team down, bro. You letting your partners down because they're out here trying to give everything they got. Mobley's hobbling around on the ankle, and you the highest paid person on the team. You an all-star. But you ain't showing no intensity. You ain't showing you supposed to be in them press conferences saying this. Hey, I got people hurt. I got to play better. I feel like I'm an all-star in this league. 15 ain't going to get it done. That's on me. Donovan don't got to carry everything. I'm supposed to be one of those guys. Not a guy, one of them guys. And right now, he doing too much of that. Smiling and grinning. I know it ain't everybody's personality to get fired up. But at some point in time, when you got your partners falling all around you, when are you going to pick them up? Max Strus? You got all that bread to come over here and shoot, and you ain't shooting. Why can't you step up? I don't listen, and what I don't like too is I don't like the fact that his demeanor wasn't that same demeanor right here. Don't come to Cleveland and switch up. Don't come to Cleveland and you got that Miami Heat culture. You're supposed to have a Heat culture, right? Now you get over here and it's all different. Now I'm quiet Max Strus, and every other second I'm talking in the ref's ears.
I was just about to say, my man.
There was one possession where 2 times down the floor he was complaining about not getting a call.
The man got more complaint calls to the referees per games than made 3-pointers per game.
And by the way,
series, and that's a damn shame.
It's like Angel Hernandez in baseball. The more you complain, the less you get.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a question for you, Mike, because I thought this briefly when I was watching Game 3, as maybe I'm just seeing this wrong, and I wanted to get your opinion. Are the Cavs using Max Strus the way the Heat did? Is his role here
no, it's
same?
not the same. No, it's not the same.
Okay, tell me the difference between Miami Max and Cleveland Max.
I think first and foremost, he's a 2-guard playing the 3 here, which is just a little. He's too small to be a real 3.
Couldn't agree more.
A legit shooting guard size, but he's definitely not.
So let me ask a question,
wing.
because I agree. I feel like when I watched him in Miami, he was better at his job because he was doing what he's best at. Here, he's trying to fill a role that he is not. He's just not.
He's not a creator.
So what I would love to see, we're not going to see it. Here's what I would love to see. I want to see, and we're going to talk about rotations in a second, but I would love to see Max Strus starting at the 2, and Donovan runs the offense. Am I nuts, Mike?
Well, we're going to talk about that in 1 sec, because we're going to talk about rotations, and I think JB found something that may not be exactly copy and paste, but stylistically something to talk about in 1 sec. But to Strus's point, and then that'll lead us right into it. For his career, Strus hasn't been and never has been like a true bona fide sniper from 3. Like, I'll read his career 3-point percentages. Mm-hmm. His second year, or his rookie year in the NBA, he played two games in Chicago. That doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
41 games in Miami as a 24-year-old rookie. Shot 34% from 3. Then he has his breakout year for Miami. His 25-year-old season, 2021-2022. Shot 41% on 7 attempts. That's great. You take that on that volume, 41%, awesome.
Did you say on 7 attempts?
7 attempts per game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 attempts per game, 41%. Yeah. You take that run to the bank all day.
That's serviceable
The last
for
2
anybody.
seasons, his last season in Miami, his first season in Cleveland, on 7 attempts as well, it dropped from 41 to 35 and 35 on the dot. So it dropped 6 percentage points from 41, which is a very, very, very good number.
Elite.
To 35, which is right around league average.
Mediocre.
And when you're best,
It's a little above league average.
not anymore.
What is league average now?
I mean, there was during the regular season. Let me click 2 buttons. There were like, I think 57 players that shot 40% from 3.
No. I know there's always going to be that because every team has 1 or 2 specialists now. I'm wondering what the league average is, though, on 3-point shots.
He said
I have to do some math on that. Max Strus finished 129th in the NBA in 3-point percentage this year. So your quote-unquote sniper finished 129th in the NBA.
Right, but that's still above league average. Like, there's a lot,
Listen, ESPN only tracked 164 players.
Qualified threes?
I guess. The list just stops at 164.
So what happened? What happened between the 41% year and the 35%?
Reason,
Maybe the word was out.
Part of the reason is I think 41's probably a little high. That was the anomaly. He has 4 legit seasons of data. 41 is 6 points higher than any of the other ones. And 2, in Miami, the offense they run has never been extremely pick-and-roll oriented.
Right, that's true.
And when you run pick-and-roll offense, you put your shooters in the corner, and you're not running a lot of action. And I think Max Strus, just like Duncan Robinson, and part of the reason he's had so much success in Miami, is they're constantly coming off screens, having defenders trail them, creating more space than they are,
and
just catching
helps.
And shooting. And the Cavs' offensive philosophy is not built on that principle.
And I feel like Strus is pretty good shooting the ball on the move.
You know what this reminded
That's
me
what he's
of?
better at.
Yeah, I mean, like, you'd think he'd be better at catch and shoot, but I am stunned at some of the shots that he makes coming off screens where he's still moving, doesn't have his shoulders squared to the basket, yet he makes it.
But he can't do that here because our offense is pick and roll with Donovan Mitchell and nothing else.
It kind of reminds you of the one time that Andrew Berry signed John Johnson III that was a box safety, and then Joe Wood started to play him all the way back there.
Yes.
This is exactly
Where
what
is
this
JJ? He's in the parking lot.
This is exactly what this reminds you of.
Mike, what would the Cavs be with Eric Spoelstra as their head coach?
Probably still a pick-and-roll offense because your 2 best creators are 6'2" guards.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I mean, they'd be better. Don't get me wrong. Like they would do some other things.
There'd be other concepts. You can't just have one play in your playbook.
Well, no.
Yes.
I think they'd be. I think they'd be marginally better because he would hold people accountable for certain things. I know George Niang wouldn't be running around here looking like an offensive lineman. I know that for a fact. I know that.
George Yang would not survive in the Miami strength and conditioning.
I know. Another thing for a fact, you be running. See, when you watch him in Miami, they bring him off stagger screens. They bring him off pin downs. They got him out here like he's creating. I don't ever want to see him dribbling the ball. That's not his strong suit.
No,
see,
I agree.
when you come to the Cavs, everything's a free for all. Everybody, listen. We want guys to do things we ain't never seen them do. Hey, Mobley need to shoot threes. We ain't seen that. Strus need to be guarding a small forward that's 6'9", that can get money off, and he go play small forward. We ain't seen that. We haven't seen none of this stuff. Like
you just look at this past off season, right? Where you spent the money at and how we got no return on investment.
Zero.
Ty Jerome played, I think, 3 minutes the entire season.
Good.
Who was supposed to be a dude who got significant backup point guard minutes. George Niang and Max Strus were signed for this particular moment. When we got to the playoffs to be knockdown shooters, once Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland was creating off the pick and roll or driving to the basket, none of that has came into play. And so not only did the guys that you ID'd as key significant offseason additions gave you nothing when it mattered the most, you found out that your two guard and your superstar is actually your best point guard all in the same time. So I think everything that we thought the season was going to be, and you just look at where the Cavs at now, man, I think a lot of the issues is construction and coaching. I mean, that's just where we at.
Sorry,
and I know we finna get into adjustments, and I'm not trying to get ahead of it, but
But Mike,
sorry, Kobe.
We can do it in a sec.
In fairness, when you said, well, their two best playmakers are 6'2" guards, let's just dissect that for a second. They've got Jarrett Allen, they've got Evan Mobley. So it doesn't have to be that way.
I still think, and I tweeted this out, I'll die on this hill, we talked about it on Friday, Mobley's best offensive skill right now is his passing, and I would run way more. I don't know what percentage you want to put it at, 20, 25, whatever. They don't run nearly enough offense through the bigs, in my opinion.
And
in my personal opinion. Because I think both Allen and Mobley
so
are
let me
capable
ask you
at that
this
position.
then. Is this a byproduct of what JB does, so it makes it look like our best two players are 6'2" guards? You've got to use the skill sets of the players you have. I fully understand that. But also, if you want to sharpen skill sets of certain players, you have to commit to that. You can't just expect that in the offseason they're going to come back and have that skill set. Let them work on that against Atlanta and against Detroit.
I don't disagree.
And I just keep seeing the same thing. We're going to talk later in the show about, are we going to see a Browns offense that actually is different? Well, we've seen the same Cavs garbage now offensively for 3 years, and where has it put us?
Jay, you would need to have what we call a plan.
a plan. Is that like a blueprint, an agenda?
Like you would have to have like instead
Does that
of
include meetings?
yes,
Is that a rundown?
and diagrams and like PowerPoints and like I don't and
Strategy.
By the way, Kobe Altman, you're not getting off on this. You're not getting off on this. I already listen. No, you're not.
His two off-season acquisitions have been eggs in the playoffs.
You talked about shooting, and you was the guy that came up with that 51 win saying. That propaganda that you was spreading all over the city. 51 wins. Where do 51 wins get you and all this shooting that you brought in? The reality of the situation is your roster that you brought in. The guys, big-time players, right? And am I mistaken? Did he not give – I think he was the guy that gave Darius Garland that money, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Did he give him that max deal?
He did.
So you telling me the max guy getting 14 points a game, you got two guys coming off the bench, they got $60-some-odd million.
One name Max.
One name Max. He got the max off the bench street. Like off the corner, Max Strus got the biggest deal in the world. And guess what? We sitting here today and we are no better than you were last year.
You know what? And I'm not. I know that Kobe is the guy that brought them in, but I still think if you own the restaurant and you're going for 5-star ingredients and you're getting a 3-star meal, that's on the chef. That's not on the guy that bought the groceries.
I just want to know who hired the chef.
Well, you can't fire him because he owns the whole thing.
Hey, hold on, but that is right. The general manager did hire the chef.
I don't know who hired the chef. You know, sometimes the GM in a restaurant has the ability to make the moves, but
Sometimes the owner does.
that restaurant GM answers to somebody too. So
Gordon Ramsay about to get rid of all y'all. You know, he don't play.
Hell's Kitchen.
Oh,
So one thing that happened in Game 3 that I'm curious if we'll see in Game 4 was a certain lineup. And as always, immediately following the final whistle of tonight's game, we will have a post-game show on the YouTube channel. Jason will not be. It'll just be myself. And hopefully it'll be a much bigger party than Game 3 was. Game 3 was a bit of a downer. I'm not going to lie, the way they lost. It's tough to talk about it afterwards. But Game 2, when they won, was electric. We broke a record for the most live viewers we've had on a Cavs post-game show yet. In the Game 2 wins, hopefully we're celebrating with thousands of you guys again after a Game 4 dub tonight. I alluded to this earlier, but Jason Lloyd on Thursday, and he had been texting us and even tweeted about it, he even wrote an article on it, and Jason never writes articles anymore. So when Jason writes, you know he's serious about this. He said, I wanted to see DG, Mitchell, and Merrill play together because of the spacing it'll open up and create for the rest of their drivers. And in Game 3, we actually saw that lineup for a little bit. They came into the game with about 6 minutes left in the third quarter. 4 minutes left in the third quarter, and then exited with about 6 minutes left in the fourth. During that stretch, the Cavs turned a 17-point deficit into a 10-point deficit, and that group shot 10 of 17 from the floor. The spacing, and Steve, you can play this video now. I'm not going to break it down. You can just watch. These are all the shot attempts the group got during this five-man lineup. There's some makes, there's some misses in here. But for the most part, the spacing was something we hadn't seen. And as Donovan, Caris, and DG hunted out switches against Al Horford, the Celtics had a much more difficult time trying to rotate and help because you had 4 shooters on the court. We've talked about the 2 big lineups. We've talked about the need for spacing, especially against a team like Boston. But whether it's Merrill, whether it's Dean Wade, whether it's Strus, whoever makes shots tonight, do you think we see JB go to more legitimate 4 shooting lineups?
If we don't by halftime, we need a new coach in the second half.
Fair enough. Earl G, what do you think? Is 4 shooters today the way to go?
I echo everything Jay just said. If he doesn't, then we need a new coach. If you look at the box score, and first of all, I hate going to the box score because the box score really don't show shit.
It's a piece of the puzzle, but it can't be.
If you look at the 3-point disparity, right?
Right.
Everything was similar. I think they out-rebounded us by 9. They out-assisted us by 5. So everything in the box score would tell you that the Cavs were right there in this game, but yet somehow, some way, they still lost by 13 points. You started this way. Last time I said this, they went crazy. I'm going to say it again. Mike, not only would I deploy that lineup more, but another adjustment that I would consider making is I will move Donovan Mitchell to point guard. I will start Caris Levert at 2 guard. I will bring Darius Garland off the bench to spell Donovan Mitchell. I think at this point, man, you have to go against whatever grain that you have put on this team all year and at least just try something new, right? He tried something new right there with that lineup for the course of 7 minutes throughout that game. The Cavs was able to get the deficit down. The problem is when you down 17, how hard is that other team playing versus how hard you're playing at said time?
I know.
So I think that you need to kind of deploy that particular lineup a little earlier when the game is close. To see. But at this point, man, I would at least have to try something else. Now, here's the crazy part about it. With Donovan Mitchell possibly missing this game, you might see DG at point guard and Caris Levert at the 2, but I would flip that. I would probably put Caris on ball and get DG off ball. The problem is I'm not sure how DG is when he's off the ball. But I think that there's a few things that JB Bickerstaff needs to at least throw out there this game and see if it sticks. And if it don't, go back to whatever it is you've been doing because whatever. You just got to try something different. You have to.
Yeah. It reminded me of, without Jarrett Allen, it reminded me of the lineup that went 18-2. They had 4 shooters, and they were 4 out and 1 in. And I wonder if Jarrett Allen is healthy tonight, if there's more of a likelihood, Mike, to go to that lineup.
I would hope so.
I mean,
I think
it works.
They have to space the floor. Dean Wade's healthy. He played in Game 3 for the first time. And whether you could kind of mix and match, Okoro played the lowest minutes he's played in this series in Game 3.
Yeah.
He was 1 of 7. He wasn't hitting shots. I think JB realizes the Cavs need the spacing to maximize the switches.
Absolutely.
And they also need the spacing because threes add up, and if they're not making threes with Boston, it's going to be tough for them to make enough 2s because they just don't have a real post presence yet.
See, the problem you have is, this goes back to roster construction, right? There's only a certain amount of pieces and shapes and skill sets that you have on a team. So, yes, you want to spread the floor, but the unintended consequence of that is, guess what? you're going to get beat on the boards. And if you look at it, Drew Holiday was down there like a baby Shaq. I don't understand it. Drew Holiday was Shaq with braids the other day, and Jason Tatum walking to the rim. Like, we couldn't get rebounds. Even the possessions in which we get stops, we could not. That's crazy. 8 rebounds for Drew Holiday. 13 rebounds for Jason Tatum. This is crazy. Like, they're killing you on the boards because when you look at the Celtics and how they're built, they got long, lanky, athletic guys. We have shorter, not really average. I would say we're average athletically, but you're gonna sacrifice something for the other. You get shooting, but now you got Sam Merrill on the pick and roll, right? You got a little bit of you do get a little more offense with Caris Levert, but he's Jason Tatum is giving him work underneath. So it's tough with this team, and that's why I say we can't overlook this. Yes, we want them to win. Yes, we could talk about the X's and O's and JB. There's a lot left to be desired. But we have to talk about the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers have the worst roster of all the remaining teams. Out of all the remaining teams, and these are the teams that you're going to deal with. These guys aren't going to fall and die or get old all of a sudden. These are the teams that you're going to have to beat in order to win a championship. And if you want to say championship, 2 things have to happen. Either your guys are going to have a tremendous jump, and I think it's all she wrote for Darius Garland. That year he had, we might need to be talking about that as an outlier too, because he wasn't doing that when Colin Sexton was here. Any other guard in the backcourt, he has not performed well. Colin Sexton, he didn't perform well. You take a look when Colin was injured that year, and Darius had the ball. Darius was an all-star. Sometimes people is better. Sometimes people can get their money off and be an all-star on a mediocre team. It is what it is. Somebody got to score the points.
Sure. There was a tweet. Someone put it in our group. I don't know if you prepared it, but it was hilarious about Caris Levert.
I'll send it to you guys. Hold on one second. Here. But that was the funniest tweet I've seen.
It was crazy.
It was absolutely dead on. Don't you hate when you read something and you're like, damn, why didn't I think of that?
Right.
Because it's so obvious.
Who said that, Jason?
It resonated with everybody. No, the guy that tweeted it.
No, it was someone I hadn't heard of.
It's ISO Spida. And he's got a Donovan Mitchell. Maybe it's Mitchell's burner account.
It might be.
But it says, I think Caris Levert has a wheel in his head with a collection of random NBA players. Anywhere from Michael Jordan to Anthony Bennett. And he spins it every possession to see who he's going to play like. And that is absolutely positively
true. He can get
true.
you 50, and then he can come out here and get you 2. Like, it depends on what day it is. But here's the thing, like, with Caris Levert, why I think he's the biggest X factor. One, like, he has the playoff experience, right? Like, he's been around the block. He knows what it is. I think he was the 3rd highest scorer for the Cavaliers against the Boston Celtics during the regular season at like 15-16 games or something like that. He's supposed to be a dude that's a shot creator that can go get his own bucket, and he's a dude that's a little longer and can play some defense. And so that's why
wildly athletic.
That's why I'm not opposed to starting him over DG. And I get what Mike says, man. Like, when it comes to offensive output, it's kind of like pick your poison with these 2 dudes per day. Because either one of them has shown that they can be consistent scoring the basketball. But again, you have to get creative. You can't just keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. He's longer. He has more experience. He can play defense. He can go get you 50. But he can also get you 2, be 0 for 7 from 3-pointers, play 23 meaningless minutes as well.
I'll play him over Strus. I would not have Max Strus in the starting lineup. I would not do it. He's not giving you anything. If he can't shoot, I'm going to go with Caris Levert because at least I know Caris can get guys involved. He can be a facilitator. He's athletic. He may get to the rim. I can't start Max Strus, and we all know they're not going to start Darius. They're going to start Darius Garland.
Yeah, they're not going to do it.
You know why they're going to? Because if you hear JB talk about Darius, particularly after he plays well, he almost always says the quiet part out loud. He says, we've all been trying to pick Darius up. It was good to see him come out and play tonight like we all know he can play. That tells me we're dealing with the psyche that's very fragile and that JB knows that, and he's got to treat him with kid gloves. Kid gloves gets you knocked out of the first round.
And it gets your coach
It
fired.
will get you knocked out of the second round. It will get you fired. If you have come to the conclusion that the best version of your team is with Darius Garland on the bench for stretches and filling in for Donovan as a backup, and you don't do that, don't bitch when you get fired. If I'm going down my way.
Yep.
I'm not going down any other way. And the thing of it is, we saw for a long stretch that it works. They can win without him. This team can win without him. And I don't want to disparage. It makes it sound like I'm saying he's garbage. He's not.
Right.
He's not the right fit for this roster. He's not. He could be an all-star on a mediocre team. He will never be the reason a team wins an NBA title. Ever.
His game is not predicated to that. If you just watch
And
his
that's
game,
okay too.
Right.
It's okay. But if you want a dog, you're not getting one. And has anybody ever heard JB angry in a post-game news conference after a blowout loss?
No.
Yeah, he stormed out. Or were you there the one day when he stormed out? I forget who asked the question, but he got very mad.
On his anger level of
wait,
1 to 10.
wait, hold on. That was pregame though. That was pregame.
Pregame?
Yeah, that was pregame.
So he mad.
He was
before the
asked
game.
about.
His post-game news conferences, they lose by 30. He's got the box score in his hand. He's like, I was really happy with the way we moved the ball
Stefanski
around.
does that, though. I mean, it's...
No,
No, not like that. Stefanski will call, will say
don't know.
things.
I gotta watch the tape. Stefanski ain't never gonna say after a loss, I was happy with the way we moved the ball. You got beat by 40.
He
Well,
will
no, the
say
word's
we've got to
different.
do.
The
We got
word, the demeanor.
But you know what? Okay, I'll even give you that. They are kind of very similar in that. You know what I want, and I know that this doesn't always work. Tony Dungy won a Super Bowl, and it took Peyton Manning to get him over that hump. For years, he had an all-time great defense in Tampa, and he couldn't get him over the hump. They brought in John Gruden. They won the Super Bowl. What was Gruden all about? Fire and brimstone, man. If you didn't do your job, and trust me, I covered that team every day. If you did not do your job, whether your number was 99, 55, or 12, you were talked to in front of everybody, and you were talked about to the media. Now, I know that doesn't work for everybody, and it does have to be your personality. But when I watch JB's postgame news conferences, after a blowout at home that they now lost control of the series, he's going, I was really, really pleased with the way we moved the ball in the first quarter for 4 minutes. That was really nice there. And, and now I'm not happy with the three-pointing shooting, so we've got to do better there, and we will. I just forget the notes, sit in front of the TV cameras, sit down, and be silent for 30 seconds. Don't say a word. Because you know how these post games start. The coach sits down and makes his opening salvo, and then the questions come.
Yeah.
Wait, let the media sit there and look at you and wonder, whoa, where's he going with this? And if somebody starts to ask a question, just put your hand up and say, hold on. And then sit there and let your anger marinate for about 20 seconds. So the fans can feel like you feel their pain too. And then after 20 seconds, you look into the camera and you look at the reporters and say, what we just put out on the floor that our fans paid good money for and invested 2.5 hours of their Mother's Day weekend for is absolutely unacceptable. Not acceptable. And I've never heard that from JB, ever. When I watch him, I don't know. Did they win or did they lose? I don't know.
You're not gonna get that. You ain't gonna get that. You just like that. That's the difference between, because here's the thing. It's the difference between teams that really, really, really want to win at all costs and other teams. Because I saw Frank Vogel get fired. I saw Budenholzer get fired. I done seen the Bucks fire the coach in the middle of the season. There's times where you got to hold these guys accountable. But now today, people think that if I'm really nice with everybody and I'm nice with these guys, that somehow, that's going to get through.
Where did nice guys finish?
Last. But look at the roster, right? You got two dudes, and I know I'm going to go somewhere else with this, but you got two dudes on this roster that's 33, 34. So you got two 80s babies on this team. Rest of these dudes, man, like they born between 96 and 2000. Like, it's the generation that we dealing with. You can't come to them man to man and constructively criticize them without them getting in their feelings.
Do it in a tweet.
Yeah, so like I can understand, I guess, to that point, when you understand, like, from a player-to-player standpoint of everybody that's on this roster, that maybe he can't take that approach. But sometimes going against your own grain, like we're talking about with these adjustments, maybe if you go against your own grain of how, you go about talking about or critiquing these players, maybe that'll get more out of them. I just feel like at this point, man, you got to try something different than what you've been doing. And that's JB Bickerstaff, like when it comes to post and pregame comments, that's JB Bickerstaff when it comes to roster adjustments as well. So
let's make our picks for tonight's game, then we'll move on, talk a little Browns. Earl, we'll start with you and with Jay. Who wins tonight, and what's the final score?
Don't know who the final score is, but I think if Donovan Mitchell don't play, the Cavs lose. I think if Donovan Mitchell does play, I think the Cavs lose. I don't think nobody else.
Oh, no matter what.
I don't think nobody else on this team. I'm hoping something different, but like you said, what I hope and what I think is two different things.
Yeah.
I don't think nobody else is going to show up and give him 25 plus.
You said if Mitchell plays, they lose.
No, I said if he doesn't play, they lose. I think if he plays, they still lose for the simple fact nobody else.
I just want to make sure that's what you meant to say.
Nobody else.
They're losing no matter what tonight.
Somebody else needs to step up and give him at least 25 plus.
That's fair. Who goes next?
G?
You want me to go?
Listen, I don't. They ain't got enough. Darius Garland has not showed up. Evan Mobley's playing decent. You know what I'm saying? But once again, step your game up. I'm watching DiVincenzo, all the rest of these guys get 30, 40 points, shooting threes. It's at two different levels. I wish the Cavs would win. I wish they had a level of intensity and come out and get it done. I think the game was close in the beginning. I think the Celtics keep it close enough and they pull it away in the fourth quarter with some big shots. I got the Celtics winning game 4, 108 to 97.
All right, I'm going to pick them to lose. Here's how they can win. Mitchell has to play. Allen has to play. We have to see more of the 4 in and 1 or 4 out, 1 in. And they can win. I don't want to sit here and say they can't win. They can't win if Mitchell doesn't play. They can't win if Allen doesn't play. I'll say that. And if they both play, I feel they can win. But we've got to see more of the lineup that we saw in the third quarter and the one that helped them go 18-2 and not the one that led them to 13-18.
Awesome. We're going to move on and talk a little Browns here,
guys.
guys.
You got to give a pick.
Oh, I think the Celtics win tonight. The Cavs can win. They just got to keep hunting the Horford mismatch. And Boston was content switching that every time.
Yeah.
And if they're going to switch, you just have to make them pay. I thought
they will if they win.
They're going to switch everything.
They will have shown me a tremendous amount if they come back and can win game 4 with the way they played in 3. If they win in 4, I'll give them credit for it. But
I will say this, and then we will move on. But every time the Cavs have their back against the wall this postseason, they have come out. Games 5 against Orlando, just lost 2 on the road. All the momentum's in the Magic favor. They came out. Mobley is a game-winning block. Game 7, push comes to shove, down 12, win that game by 18, 30-point swing. Game 2 in Boston. Can't go down 0-2 to the Celtics. It's a wrap. Found a way to win. So when they have needed to play their best games this postseason, they have found a way to come through. We'll see if they can do it tonight. All right, guys, it's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and much, much more. Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Over the weekend, Mary Kay Cabot, a friend of the show, wrote an article from Minicamp talking about how Ken Dorsey's fingerprints are all over the Browns already. And in her article, she mentioned a couple things that she's already noticing about Dorsey's influence on whatever the Browns' offense will look like in 2024. She mentioned new drop-back concepts, spread and RPO designs, 3 and 4 wide receiver formations, and utilizing choice routes, which is what Dorsey used with Cole Beasley, in Buffalo. We heard almost this exact same report last year about this new look offense, and we know how that turned out. It looked pretty similar to 2022. Are you buying or selling the fact that entering 2024, the Browns will actually have a new look offense with Deshaun Watson under center, Jerry Jeudy on the outside, all the new weapons they've acquired, but the actual offense itself will look different than it has the last 2-3 years under Kevin Stefanski?
It may well look like it. It may well be a situation. But you're not getting me 2 years in a row. I'm not doing it, bro. I drink the Kool-Aid and all that good stuff, but you're not about to get me, bro. Like, I got to see it. And in fact, I got kind of infuriated when it said new choice routes. They've been running choice routes in the NFL since Madden 96. And we got new choice routes on the bottom? Like, that's wild. That's like saying new forward passing. Like we the four horsemen running around with Notre Dame running a triple option. This is ridiculous that your offense was that far behind. When she said 3 and 4 receiver sets. Dun 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 dun. You mean not 3 and 4 tight end sets?
Jerry Glanville was doing that in Houston in the late 80s.
Like the Oilers was getting that off since the 80s. So, like, it just goes to show you we had an offensive lineman that was playing fullback and tight end, going in motion. Nick Harris was just going in motion, sliding down the line of scrimmage. No. If they do, good for them. I'll come back and say, listen, I like the offense. You're love it.
You're not buying it.
But I'm not, listen, I got to see it first. I'm sorry. I'm not going, you ain't going to have me looking crazy. These little montages at the end of the year McNuggets be doing.
It's funny that your tact and your angle on this was very similar to mine. When I read Mary Kay, I literally said, if we change the date in this story from 2024 to 2004, 2014.
Right.
I'm like, okay, they caught up.
Yeah, we ready to go.
This is 2024. And we're going to run some RPO. And we're going to run some new drop back concepts. We might even have one of them fellas in there that can block on the line and then release and catch passes.
What?
Boom. We're going to call him a split end.
Gotcha.
I don't get it. And what really – now, I do buy that we're going to see that this year.
Yes, I think –
I do buy it. And the reason I buy it is because as I'm trying to put this puzzle together in my mind, I think I've finally figured it out. For the last year, 2 years maybe, Jimmy Haslam has been watching this, and it's not about the what, but it's about the how.
Yeah.
Case in point, the Cardinals game. Mm-hmm. We boat raced a bad Arizona team that had, I think, Anthony playing quarterback.
Clayton Tune.
After the game, Jimmy was overheard telling some reporters, we didn't pass enough. Jimmy wants to win the way Dan Marino won.
Yep.
He wants to throw it all over the place.
Yep.
And that's not Kevin Stefanski. And so he watched last year, and the what was 5 different quarterbacks. When we finally had success, it was with a under center quarterback who play faked, and it worked. And Jimmy's like, no, that's not what I want. I didn't spend good hard money on this football team to watch that. I want to see the run and shoot. I want to see Jerry Glanville. I want to see, and the problem with that is because they've had a lot of success with that in the NFL. But I have talked on this set the last year about zig and zag. What does that mean? When teams zig, the smart coaches zag. They don't follow the trend. They set the new trend. Bill Belichick did that for years. Last year, no success, had no quarterback. What you have to do in this league is stay ahead of what the league is doing because it's a copycat league. We're copycatting way too late because now the trend in the NFL now is to do it with defense. Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl this year because they had a great defense. They also have an all-time great quarterback. That's a great combo. But they're not putting 45 on the board anymore like they were. Buffalo's not dropping 50 anymore like they did. The defenses now are built to stop what we're going to change to. I don't know if that's a good idea. I think we're behind the trend.
I think when I seen it, I seen an article about the new look Browns offense. I laughed, and I'm like, gee, I'm like you. You're not getting me 2 years in a row with that. I do believe it more this year than last year's for the simple fact, at the end of the season, Josina Anderson came out and said, hey, there will be sweeping changes on the Cleveland Browns offensive side of the ball.
And there were.
And there were. We got a new OC. We got a new offensive line coach. We got a new running back coach. So by default, the offense is going to look different.
I think a new tight end coach, right?
Yeah, new tight ends coach. So, technically by default, the offense is going to look different than what we saw last year. Now, will it be this spread offense that we was promised last year, I think that's TBD, right? I think that you got to get these guys on the field, get them in this system and kind of get the verbiage down and see how it looks. You know, I think that as the season goes or as the offseason program goes on, I think that the offense should organically shape itself into what this 2024 offense would be. I think they're giving.
You mean by what they do best?
By what they do best.
That we do more of that.
Right, and I think that will, you know, hopefully shape what it should be. Don't just try to force an offense that looks pretty. Just go out there, install, and see what happens.
Another interesting thing about this is I'm reading it. Mary Kay talked about how Ken Dorsey's going to bring some of the concepts that Brian Daboll used with the Bills. How have those same concepts transferred to New York, Mike?
Not good.
Huh.
They ain't got a quarterback.
Thank you.
So my thing is, the thing I like is the fact that if you look at those montages, Tommy Rees was an offensive coordinator. Dorsey has been an offensive coordinator. Stefanski has been an offensive coordinator. And so what I would like to see them do is bring the best of both worlds. I want to see Tommy Rees come in here and give me some of those college concepts that get people wide open in college. I want to see Dorsey give us some of those vertical passing concepts that Josh Allen used to throw the ball all over the park. I still want Kevin Stefanski to be able to give us a ground-based offense that when we do run the football, we can run play action out of it. I'm not saying that this won't work, but I'm saying they got enough minds and good offensive minds with different philosophies that they can make this Browns playbook very multiple, which that's what I like to see. It's not about what we're going to do. It's about from week to week. I remember when Tom Brady was playing, and I know it's Tom Brady. Don't kill me on this one. But when the Patriots was rolling, it was mixed fruit. Like it was trail mix. 1 week it'd be they running the ball. The next week is 2 tight ends throwing the ball.
It all depended on what the defense that they were playing
that
week was
Stefanski
good
says
at.
that all the time, though. I got to give Kevin Stefanski some credit because he says that all the time that his offensive game plan week to week is dictated on the personnel of the other team.
Well,
right?
It has to be.
So, and it has to be. So I think when we see, you know, articles like this and we have conversations about this offense being vertical and RPOs, yeah, that might be some base packages that's installed, but you can't expect to see that stuff week in and week out. I think your offense is going to be dictated to the other team that you're playing, what you have success doing, and what you have success doing might not always be what you think is going to be successful this season.
Well, if someone would have told you last year that the Browns are going to make the playoffs with an under-center quarterback, play fake, and a heavy rotation of tight ends, you would have been like, well, what happened? Well, Deshaun Watson got hurt, so they had to pivot. Now with Deshaun back, maybe some of that RPO stuff can work. But, you know, when we show Ken Dorsey's bio and we see that he worked with Cam Newton the year he won the MVP in 2015, that was 10 years ago. It's a different league now. This league changes every 2 to 3 years, like conceptually, and what teams are trying to do. They just look at how the Chiefs won their most recent Super Bowl.
No starker reminder that 10 years ago was 10 years ago than I just thought of this as you mentioned that, Jay. Ron Rivera won Coach of the Year in 2015 when Cam Newton won MVP that season.
Yeah.
He was arguably the best coach, he won Coach of the Year.
Sure.
He may have been the worst coach in football last
year. Did that team go like 15-1?
Out.
Yeah.
15-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the year they lost in the Super Bowl, wasn't it?
Yep.
They did.
Now look, the Browns to run what they claim they want to run, they didn't have the horses to run that either. They got one receiver.
That's the other thing.
They got Amari Cooper, which is like we saw with Elijah. That's what I'm saying. We be overvalued. We be overestimating sometimes, and I gotta pump the brakes. Like,
no, G, you're the worst at that. No offense. I love you, G, but you're the main culprit of the overestimation.
Hey, listen, man. Listen, some of it is tongue in cheek, and some of it is like, nah, Elijah Moore ain't it. I told Tyvus, nah, bro. You said that he was gonna be out. No, he is a 3rd or 4th receiver. Actually, be truthful, I take that back. I ain't been high on David Bell, Cedric Tillman. I didn't like Schwartz. I'm trying to figure out what receiver that I pumped up that turned out to be. I ain't pumped nobody up. But I did say this, though. I did tell you David Njoku should have got that contract. I did tell you DeJuan Jones was going to be a playmaker. Didn't I tell you that? Did I tell you that?
Hey, you told me my boy Kevin Stefanski sucked, though.
I did too. I had to apologize for that.
Hey, you throwing up darts in a dark room and you're going to hit the board once or twice.
I talked to Kev off. I talked to Kev off air.
Yeah.
I talked to Kev. We good, man. I told him. I seen him. I said, yo, listen, I like your beard, bro.
Yeah.
Just for
See,
men.
here's the thing, though, on that. If you predict everybody's going to be great, you're going to be right sometimes.
Right.
Like, I think I give credit to guys when they look at somebody who's being way overhyped, and they look at that player and they're just like, I'm sorry, this is going to be a colossal fail.
And I try to see it. Like, I mean, so like sometimes, mind you, I try to talk myself into it. Like, look, I'll even give you this point. Like, when I know what people is trying to say when Deshaun Watson, they say he hasn't played well at all. What people are saying is, bro, we got to have a 300. Where the 350s?
That's right.
Where the 350 and the 4 touchdowns at? That's what we want. Not that 196 stuff and 2 touchdowns.
Middling.
That's Minimowski. We ain't trying to see that. That's what they be saying. So I see what people be saying, but you know, sometimes you got to call that out. I'm sorry, bro.
All right, guys, I got a different football question for you guys, and I'm going to tell you what that is after a quick word from eBay Motors. If I could remember it. There we go.
There it is.
Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts. For your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some big-time wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. I got into this debate. Me and my buddy were arguing over the weekend. It had nothing to do with the Browns. So this is not a Browns-specific question. It's a big-picture football question.
Right.
But we could apply it to Cleveland because we're here in Cleveland. In today's day and age, what is more important in today's NFL to making a good running game? Is it a good offensive line or is it a good running back? I know it's a chicken or the egg question, but in your opinion, what is more valuable in today's day and age to having a consistent, effective, and frankly, for lack of a better word, a really good run game? Is it the running back or the offensive line?
It's the offensive line. I think it's been the offensive line. I know me and Mike talked about this upstairs. I wouldn't even consider it this day and age. I think that football has always been won and lost in the trenches. And I think the Denver Broncos teams, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, should show you that if you got a good offensive line and a quality system, you can put any running back there, and that running back can run for 1,000 yards. Hell, Reuben Drones ran for 1,000 yards in that system. Offensive line is going to always, kind of get the edge to me over running back because, again, it all starts up front, and that's where football traditionally, no matter how much like the rule package changed, that's where it's always won and lost at.
This is a tough one. I played offensive line, and I blocked for some really good running backs. And I think that people are getting it twisted a little bit. They don't think that the elite running backs make that much of a difference. Well, that's not necessarily true. Jerome Ford had 813 yards, right? Nick Chubb's back there, that's a 1,400-yard year. Because there's running backs who, yes, may be fast, yes, may be able to do some things in the open field. But the elite backs get you 3 yards when you were supposed to get hit for 0. The elite backs give you extra yards because they always leaning forward. Elite backs always make the first guy miss. When you up front and you blocking, the coach will tell you, hey, listen, so-and-so back there, Nick Chubb, we can't block everybody up here, right? They bringing this from the strong side. We can't block everything. We need you to make that safety miss. And good backs miss rate are tremendous. Good backs broken tackles are tremendous. And yes, you could get a nice stacked offensive line. But the reality is, it's very difficult to have one of the best offensive lines year in and year out. It's tough. Like, I can remember the Hogs in the 70s had great lines. The Dallas Cowboys had tremendous lines with Emmitt Smith. Heck, the Browns have had a good offensive line for the better parts of 3 to 4 years. However, when you're running the ball that way and you're running it a lot, you get injuries, you get people injured. Tackle is a position that takes up a lot of money on your salary cap, and people don't value guards that much. So 9 times out of 10, it's very difficult to see really good teams with a stacked offensive line. It's more like hit or miss here, and we're going to make sure we play action and keep the quarterback safe. For me, I think it's kind of close, but I would say, to me, would I rather have an elite running back or an elite offensive line? I would say, if I didn't have an elite offensive line, I could get other positions where I could be elite and kind of spread the wealth a little bit. I would take the running back because I feel like an elite running back gets a lot of yards that people that aren't elite don't get.
You know you changed the question, right?
No, what you mean?
No, he did it.
He answered it with offensive line is more important than a running back.
No, G picked running back.
He said elite running back over elite line. I think
like I would take
but
all things being equal. If you ask me, like, how would I go about it? I would say, listen, an elite offensive line or an elite running back. I would be like, well, look, I could get an elite running back. I don't got to pay him that much. If I got an elite offensive line, you the Cleveland Browns, you paying guards $16 million. You paying tackles $16 million.
So what is your pick then?
I go with the elite running back.
Okay, because the way you started, I thought you were saying offensive line was more important.
I would go with well, overall, you talk about pass blocking, but we talk about running the ball, right?
No, just for the run game.
Okay, I would take the running back.
So you're the split. You're the tiebreaker, Jay. Which way are you going?
I'm going offensive line, and here's why. And it's really not a tiebreaker because they both said running back.
No, I said offensive line.
Oh, you did say offensive.
Yeah, I said offensive line.
Jason, no man's land for the last.
No, I thought I thought you started by saying that it was running back.
No. For me, it's offensive line. I feel like that football is won and lost in the trenches.
I do too.
It always starts up front. I think G's point is, he said Jerome Ford ran for 813. Nick Chubb would have ran for 14. My mind is, you ain't finna get a Nick Chubb every single day.
And well, the problem with that argument is, because I would say, well, just look at the yards per carry that Chubb had versus everyone else.
Right.
So if it was, and it's such a tough question because I think they both talked around it. I'm going to talk around it now too. The answer to this question is yes. They're both important, and I don't know that you can have one without the other. Like, it's because there's the experiment is this.
Yeah.
You take the running back out, but you keep the line the same. Mm-hmm. When you do that, why doesn't everybody have 5 yards per carry in the Browns line? Because Nick Chubb is decidedly better than those other guys.
Special.
So, but if you look at trend in the NFL has basically told running backs, you're not important. You're not relevant. You're interchangeable. They don't draft them high. They don't sign them to big money deals. They don't get big money extensions. They just exist because you need someone to run the football. Now, I'm not saying that's right or that's wrong.
I think people are tripping when they do that.
But that's the trend. That's the trend. And the reason you can't just look at the yards per carry last year with Nick Chubb, who was, I think it's 6 yards a carry when he went out. Now, granted, he only played a game and a half.
Right.
Nobody else was anywhere near that. But you have to also take into account that the offensive line was a game of musical chairs all year last year for the Browns.
If you go back and look through history, I can think of a couple teams that the running back was a product of the offensive line. Go back and look at Franco Harris. Great offensive line, right? You go back and look at John Riggins with the Washington Redskins at the time. Great offensive line. You can argue that those guys up front were the reason that he got the yardage that he got. Emmitt Smith is another guy. But I could look at O.J. Simpson, Barry Sanders, Eric
they did it
Dickerson,
themselves.
Adrian Peterson
had nothing. Chris Johnson had nothing. There's great players where I could go up and down the list of all top 10. Walter Payton didn't really have the craziest line, right? But those teams gave the ball to the special dude, and he made it work. So to me, I can only find a couple of guys who are all-time runners who had equally as great offensive lines, and rather than guys, it's 100 guys who didn't have no offensive line that was the playmaker on the team.
But think about, okay, you great example, right? But you just named some dogs that played running back. But think about those teams that didn't necessarily have a dog at running back, but their team always ranked between top 5, top 10 at rushing. Like
The Shanahans?
Like you get the Jets with Curtis Martin back there, or like the Packers when Dorsey Levens was back there, things like that.
Now,
right?
Curtis Martin 5 all time.
Yeah, his numbers crept up there.
Curtis Martin 5 all time.
Listen.
Hall of
On
Famer.
teams that didn't have playoff success.
Yeah, at all.
And you mentioned Shanahan's.
But
When Mike Shanahan was in Denver, it was like, okay, this guy's out, in.
that's what I'm saying.
Out,
Ruben Jones
in.
ran for 1,000 yards.
I think they're special when it comes to the run concepts. They teach run game better than anybody in the world.
How about this for
I
kind
just
of a
think that-
conclusion? With the exception of a handful of guys over the last decade, it is the line. But to say it universally is the line takes away from guys like Barry Sanders
Right.
and Walter Payton, who played long enough, especially Payton, and was great for such a long period of time. His offensive line changed, but the offensive run game
Hey,
never
Jim
dipped.
Brown didn't have no linemen.
Well, I'm not equipped to say how they.
I
don't know.
just if you just on face value say, well, let me go see how many Hall of Famers he played with. You're not going to find very many.
I don't know.
You know, but
I mean, Barry Sanders did have Lomas Brown in Detroit.
But by the way, it's a different game. You have to say that too.
It is definitely a different
It's a
game.
different game.
But I think
think
there are running backs that can be great without a great offensive line.
Yes.
How is an offensive line ever great without a great running back?
Well, Schlereth and them dudes in Denver was crazy. They had Mike, what's his name? Mike
Anderson.
Mike Anderson, Orlandis Gary.
They all looked great behind that offensive line.
I don't know the numbers, of course, but as we're having this conversation, I thought about two dudes who played for the Chiefs, Priest Holmes and Jamal Charles.
Oh.
Were they a product of a good line, or were they just damn good backs, or was it a little bit of both?
And you forgot Larry Johnson.
Yeah, Larry Johnson too.
Like,
Go back even further. Christian Okoye was a great back.
I don't know who they had up there like that.
The offensive line for some of those, when they had Willie Rofe,
What's the
they had a really good line. I'll look up who the rest of them was, but
Rofe might have been the only Hall of Famer. in
There's
that group.
another
Give me
Hall
one
of Famer who
sec,
played guard. I can't remember his name yet.
is it Willie Anderson? Did they have the Willies?
I gotta look it up. No,
Yeah, check it out. See
No.
what
They
you
was
find.
that 2004 area. What do you think?
Or like the year that Rudy Johnson had a good year for the Bengals.
Oh, Brian
Was
Wooders.
that
That's
product
That's
of the
his
line?
name, Brian Waters.
They had
Like,
Rofe and Wooders were both Hall of Famers. Shields and
Yeah,
Wellborn.
Waters.
They're two right side of their offensive line, both Pro Bowlers. So they had four.
Oh no, they was good.
So-
they was running. Okay.
I
Yeah.
think if the offensive line is great, you're going to have a really good run game. And Denver is the example, and all of Shanahan's teams there. It didn't matter. I mean, they just were they were running for 1,200, 1,400 yards every year with different guys.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the example where a great running back had an awful year because he was behind an awful line.
Saquon Barkley.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
This is where this conversation started, by the way.
Okay.
No, yeah, that's very
But
fair.
but is Saquon great though?
Well,
you know, I think Saquon,
I mean, that's to be
Saquon
determined.
can be great.
Could be.
it's kind of like this, Jay. Like I
Man,
think
he was something.
Like
else.
Saquon had one good year, if we being honest.
I think
Yeah.
Emmitt Smith gets
It's not unfair.
Emmitt
Partly
Smith
because
gets
the line's so
knocked.
bad.
Obviously he's the all-time leading rusher. Emmitt Smith actually gets knocked because of just how great his offensive line was.
Yeah, like they don't get he doesn't get enough credit. For it.
He's never mentioned in the top 10 running
that
back.
offensive line.
And
let's face it.
he had a great tight end, and he had a great blocking fullback.
Yeah,
like-
and also had a passing game to take pressure off the run game.
And a number one and a number two. I'm like, yeah, that was cheating. I see why they downgraded him.
You know who you can blame for all that? The Minnesota Vikings
Boy, all them picks.
and the Herschel Walker trade.
All them picks. Now that was a guy I thought was going to be a monster. Between and coming out of Georgia, Herschel Walker was that dude.
He was.
Do you guys want to know what the chat said?
What's that?
We put a poll up. Offensive line or running back? How do you think it was split?
I think they went offensive line.
G, what do you think?
Probably, there's a misnomer. People think offensive linemen. That's just what it is.
We love Nick Chubb here, though.
It's 55-45 offensive line versus Chubb.
Earl, what do you think?
I think they're going offensive line.
75% went with the offensive line.
Yeah.
75-25 was the split.
I think they got it right.
I actually do at the end of the day. I agree. All right, guys, we're going to take one more quick break. If you're in the chat, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate your guys' continued and constant support. It does not go unnoticed. So if you have a second, it costs you $0.00. Hit the like button, subscribe, become a member if you want. And we truly appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts for your guys' support day in and day out. Speaking of day in and day out, not a great weekend for the Cleveland Guardians, Jay. They lost 3 of 4 to the White Sox. They did salvage the series finale. Logan Allen had a very promising outing in the Sunday matinee. But overall, for a team that you thought was playing well, had battled back to beat Detroit in their series finale, had a little momentum heading into the weekend, losing 3 in a row to the White Sox, not a great look.
No, it wasn't a good look. They they at worst should have split because of the 3-2 loss. When you get a good pitching performance like they did in that game, and you waste it because you leave the bases loaded, nobody out in the 7th inning, and first and second, nobody out in the 6th inning, and you get a grand total of 0 runs and lose by 1, that one sticks around. So I don't want to start ringing alarm bells. I thought Allen was great yesterday, but I will say this. The loss of Stephen Kwan is showing what it's going to do to this team and what they're going to look like long term. They can't find a leadoff guy. They can't. And so they went from the best leadoff guy in baseball, which he is now, to, or at least the American League, to we don't know who's going to be our leadoff guy. And you got Florial. If they tried Florial in the leadoff spot, like he's hitting not his weight.
Nah, buck.
And so we've got too many guys in this lineup whose batting average begins with a 1. I can't remember who said it. Was it Bull on Friday said that David Fry might be your answer at catcher? Like, I know that everybody says Bo Naylor is the future.
Man, he's been playing terrible
but
at the plate.
David Fry is, like, he's been doing it. And unfortunately, I know Hedge is he's a great chemistry guy, and he's a great defensive catcher. And I wish I could put the skill sets of all 3 of those guys, the youth and the upside of Bo Naylor, and the bat and the intensity of Fry and the humor and the locker room value and the defensive effort of Hedges and blend them into one catcher, you'd have an all-star Hall of Fame catcher. But right now, I think Stephen Kwan's absence is really starting to take its toll, and I haven't heard anything on his return. Have you guys seen anything on when he's coming back?
Yep.
They said up to 4 weeks when he got hurt. So it's probably 2 weeks.
I haven't seen an update from that, but that's a long way to play, a long time to play without your leadoff guy.
Would you put Jose in the leadoff spot?
I wouldn't.
Who
I know
would you
they
put there?
That's the problem. I don't know. I would want to say Rocchio just because, but his bat isn't good enough. I need somebody that gets on base and that can run. They don't have another. They do not have another leadoff guy on this roster. Not that I see.
They are getting to the point where they're starting to regress to the mean, right?
Sure. They overplayed. They were over their skis the first month, and now they're starting to come back to who they probably are.
And there's a little bit of this. The division is better than what people thought it was going to be.
Much better.
When you see the Royals is, 8 games over 500?
Kansas City, Minnesota,
Minnesota,
Detroit. The only dog in there is Chicago.
And then you lose 3 to Chicago. So, now, especially those teams, and right now, what is almost 40-some-odd games that they're playing? There's a sample size. There's guys out there, Rocchio didn't have a track record at the plate. There's a lot of guys that didn't have really track records playing for the first time. And it seemed like Stephen Vogt, where he was putting and plugging guys in different places and trying, people was making, clutch hits and doing some clutch hitting. But the way baseball work is, they got that tape on you now. Now it's like, okay, if you don't got Quan, you don't got nobody leading off, being on the base paths, distracting pitchers, getting in people's heads, getting ducks on the pond. Now it's like, where are we getting these runs from? And when you start to see the 3-2s and you leaving guys on base, in terms of loading the bases, keep leaving those loaded, that's kind of frustrating because you're like, oh, that's that Guardians, and we don't want to get back to that. But they do have way too many guys in the lineup, and I like Rocchio, but his stick, the numbers is just, it ain't there at the plate right now. And Bo Naylor is definitely not there at the plate right now.
And
I don't know.
Freeman has really regressed. I mean, we asked a question after the first week, is this sustainable? And we all said no, because it wasn't. And boy, he hasn't hit at all since then. And that,
Woo!
I mean, so here's the, and it's easy to point out, but Florial doesn't belong in a major league starting lineup. I'm ready to say I don't believe that Freeman belongs in an everyday major league lineup. I also don't think that Laureano, who isn't an everyday starter but gets a lot of at-bats, Laureano is an $8 million anchor right now. He is killing this team because that $8 million, if that could have been spent for somebody in the last 3 years, they've gone out and they've brought these players in and they've paid them. And Zunino was a fat flop, and Bell was a flop, and Laureano has been a flop. And I love the front office, but baseball is about what have you done for us lately. And I'll tell you, I was encouraged over the weekend. Saturday, the Pirates started the guy that was the #1 overall pick in last year's draft.
Like 7 Ks, didn't he?
He had 7 Ks. He struck out the first 2. They had him on a weird deal. He only pitched 4 innings. He throws 102 miles an hour when he wants to gas it up that high. I mean, most guys, we talked about this Friday, most guys know him because he's dating Livy Dunn.
And I didn't know who she was
until you said, superstar.
Jay was like, just simply said, Google her. And him and Bull was in unison when they said Google her.
Yeah.
So when they in unison, I had to go check it out. And I was like.
Now, homie's got the funkiest stash probably in Major League Baseball right now.
Yeah, but he winning.
And,
he must be doing something right.
The Guardians' big call-up so far hasn't done anything, and that's problematic. Manzardo, speaking of funky stashes, really hasn't. Now it's way early, and he was white hot. He had like 8 home runs in a couple of weeks in Columbus, and he just has really not been it yet. I mean, look at those AAA numbers. If he comes close to that kind of production, then there's a guy right there. There's a guy that you get. But they lost 3-2. They left the bases loaded, nobody out in the 7th, and their 2 runs came on solo home runs from Hosey and Naylor, and that was it. And you can't lose that way. You can't do it. So I'm optimistic still. I still believe that they can contend for this division. But I also think that the Twins now have found their game, and the Royals are a shot. I don't think the Royals are as good as their record, but every week I say that, they keep going 4-2, and they keep
winning these series.
That's how you do it. You win the series, and you go 4-2 in the week, and you're going to be in the playoffs at the end of the year.
I kind of feel like you. I'm still optimistic. It's funny. Last month people were saying, it's early when the Guardians was winning. You can't get too high. I'm not finna trip on them losing 3 or 4 to the Chicago White Sox. This thing happened. Hell, we just seen the New York Yankees get swept by the Oakland A's. So, these things happen. That's pretty much that. It happens.
That's baseball. Yeah.
It's baseball.
I like this pitching matchup, too. I know the ERAs are similar, but I think Bybee has the ability to still be that front of the rotation guy. His whip and ERA are too high. They can't be up that high. But, and Allen yesterday, I know they've both kind of been the same way. They have outings where they look great, and then they have outings where they just look like they can't find the strike zone and they can't get their way out of the 4th inning. So, but McKenzie's been good despite a rocky start. So maybe the elbow thing is better, and he is going to be able to pitch throughout the whole season. That's my hope. But man, we need Quan back, and we need him back tomorrow.
Is this to me? Is this roster? it looked like it's a roster good enough to compete in the AL Central. If they get in the playoffs, anything happens. I think they're just very limited when it comes to playoff success because they don't have the arms in the starting rotation at this moment, and they really don't have what I would call elite bats. So it's like I at least want to go into the playoffs with one. If I can get either my great pitching in the front end and relief pitching, at least give me one of those, right? The only thing I wouldn't care about too much is great defense. Like, give me a team that can either be all good when it comes to pitching or a team that's going to hit home runs. And so it's kind of difficult when you're in the middle, and it's like, we have some good pitching. We hit home runs at spots, but I would like to see more power in the bottom of the lineup, which it was tough to do if you don't, we knew they weren't really built like that. They just didn't have the horses like that.
No, they don't. Definitely don't. Hosey and Naylor, I think, are elite hitters.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that, we need one in the bottom of the lineup. Bull is funny. Bull's greedy. Bull says we need to trade for 2 pitchers and a bat.
Well, what?
And I love that idea, but, that's not the MO.
I tried that. I tried that too when I was in 8th grade. I said, "Give me both pair of Jordans and them Adidas over there."
Yeah,
I got punched.
Pick your poison.
I got smacked in the lips.
Let me ask you guys one Guardians question. We'll talk about the City Connect jerseys. But David Fry continues to hit, and I know he's a utility guy. I know he can catch. He played first. He can play the outfield. He can play third if needed. Are we at the point, Jay, where he has to be in the lineup day in and day out?
I think so. Proven to be one of our best hitters. I don't like it when he's sitting on the bench. I know that. I know he can come off the bench late and pinch hit, but what else do they want him to do? What's his line right now?
Give me one
He
second.
homered again yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, every time he plays, he hits.
I mean, the guy's just a hitter, and they're really at a funny situation because
he's hitting real quick, Jay. He's got hitting 309 in 68 at-bats. He has 21 hits, 3 homers, 12 RBIs. He's walked 14 times. He has an OPS of 951.
This dude ballin'.
Highest on the team. He's the second highest WAR on the team. His on-base percentage, which is why Bull said maybe he could be a leadoff candidate.
I mean, he's the only other guy that could. It's just so unconventional to put your catcher as the leadoff guy.
Have you ever heard of a leadoff catcher?
I can't remember it.
Yeah, Jason Kendall, Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Who's the best running catcher? Like
probably Jason Kendall.
In the league right now.
Do you remember that leg break
he
had, though, going to first base?
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. There's a guy on Oakland, Langoliers.
Yes.
He's a pretty fast catcher right now.
Yeah, but they're rare. They're so very rare. And
they're very
you're not
few
putting him there, I don't think, because of his speed. You're putting him there because he gets on base.
Yeah, like I said, he leads the team. So, Jay, he's only played in 27 games. He has 68 registered at-bats.
Yeah.
He leads the team. Second behind Naylor with 16 walks.
He's got great plate discipline.
Fry has 14. So, yeah, his on-base percentage is not just kind of the highest on the team.
By a lot.
It's 30 points higher than Quan, who's
Which
second.
Is stunning.
And then Josh Naylor's third. It's 80 points higher than Josh Naylor.
See, here's where the Guardians are in a really tricky place right now, and here's why. They're a team that's always about the future. They're never going to be a team loaded with 37-year-olds and has-beens. They're always about who's the next man up. And in Florial, you've got a guy that you have to look and see what you have with this guy. Mm-hmm. In Bo Naylor, it's pretty much a given that he's the next long-term catcher for this club. But is he? And look at shortstop. Arias was the guy. They've already moved on from Arias at shortstop. My God, the error he made, that cost us the game. Mm-hmm. Friday night. So, I mean, we should have won Friday. We easily could have won 3 of 4, really, if you break it down. So, I don't know. I don't think they've seen enough and are ready to move on from Florial. I've seen enough Laureano.
Yeah.
Laureano, he's a veteran.
That ain't it.
We know what he is. At $8 million a year,
not it.
No one's going to pick him up. Mm-hmm. If they do, you're off the hook for the money. So just release him, and if you have to, you send him to AAA. And I know you've got Miles Straw down there, too. You've got some high-priced guys down there in the minor leagues. But if they're hurting, it's the same thing what I said with the Cavs earlier. If you're not putting your best lineup out there because you don't want to hurt Darius Garland's feelings, and and so for the Guardians, if you don't want to ding the long-term psyche of Arias and Florial and Bo Naylor, and you're just putting them out there, but it's not your best team, then I don't think you're doing the fans a service. You've got to put your best product out there, particularly when you're going to be involved in a divisional race that's going to be really tight. The difference between playoffs and not might be one game. One game. Man. And David Fry, to your question, needs to be in the starting lineup because he's proven to be not just one of the best 9 hitters on this team, he's probably in the best 4 or 5 hitters in this team, on this team.
You know what, Jay? You know, it's kind of crazy, man. Listen, we talk about home improvements, man. If you make the call to get some home improvements and the roof guy come over and that's bad, and then the siding guy come over and that's bad, then you got a basement dude that came over and that's bad, pretty soon you're going to be at that budget meeting like, hey, man, what's going on with your decision-making, dog? Like, do I need to call the plumber? Because the last time you called the basement guy, they got a lot of guys in AAA making money. And when you are a team that every penny counts, it looks crazy if you got all these guys that you've been missing on, and basically you paying them to go away.
Well, think of it. If they do release Laureano and he clears waivers and they send him to the minors, you would have $12 million in salary on 2 guys. What would that $12 million have looked like in an offseason acquisition to help bolster this team's chances to win the division? Now, I know you can't hit on everybody. It's impossible. And we have to give them credit on the Manzardo trade. I killed them at the time for it. I was dead wrong. And I apologized last week for that. Manzardo trade for Aaron Savali looks like we robbed them at gunpoint. I mean, but he's got to start doing it at the major league level. I mean,
but it's kind of like they got to do that. It's kind of like, okay, like I see what they're doing. They're looking at the bargain bin, and sometimes it's a little higher price. You're like, I don't want to do it secondhand at that rate, but they got to do it. You know what I'm saying? Or pony up and pay 12 for a guy that's going to be a real dude, and there's a less chance that he's going to bust. Yeah. But that's not really their style.
And definitely the hay is not in the barn at Manzardo. I'm not saying he's definitely going to be a superstar.
Yeah.
But based on what he was doing at AAA this year, and I know that doesn't mean anything, but he's got the ability to be a star. He's just got to figure out big league hitting, get over the jitters, and start doing what you were doing in minor league baseball. And if he can do that, then yeah, we did fleece Tampa Bay on the Savali trade.
Maybe what will jumpstart Manzardo is playing in a City Connect uniform. The Guardians over the weekend released their City Connect uniforms. If you missed the release video, you're in luck because we have it for you. Steve?
There's something about Cleveland. A gravitational pull. Whether you were born here, raised here, or came into your own here, this is home. Our love for the land runs deep. We wear it on our hats. We wear it on our chests. We wear it like a badge of honor. No matter where life takes us, we always rep the CLE. This is for you, Cleveland. Let's get it. Where you be for the revolution.
I love them. Thumbs up. They fire.
The red, white, and blue remind me of I guess it would be the late 80s, or the early 80s, rather.
That was better than the current jerseys they wear.
Okay, Cuddy.
That's what they should.
Yeah,
that's what they should have did
too.
That's what they should have did when they switched the name. That's what they should have did with the jerseys.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
And I would love to see alternates of that City Connect jersey, like an alternate to that alternate, a red one, a white one, things like that.
I need that blue one.
That's
I
fire.
need that jersey right there.
I need that custom made.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's fire.
Is that silk?
It is. They said the material and the lining and the letters is based off the pillars from the actual Guardian of Traffic statue overlooking Progressive Field. So there is some weird texture to it that mimics the actual Guardian statues.
Wow,
so it's not silky, but it is not your traditional.
I like the
looking
pants
feel.
too, man. That piping down the side.
I even like the logo with the Guardian hold the baseball bat.
Yes, I like that logo better than the logo.
Yeah.
They should take
look at that.
This
That's
should be
fire,
the logo.
I
This
know.
should
That's
be
awesome
the
right
logo.
there.
Like
How did they get it right with the whole City Connect?
I know. You know what? Maybe they had more time to think about it.
Hey,
Because if you think the whole transition was
guess what?
rushed.
Guess what?
It was they did it at 11:59
that
midnight.
should be the logo.
I
that's
agree.
Clean,
Don't-
that's slick. That's
I
more of
agree.
the city right there.
Don't fret. Don't fret. This is obviously a reverse pickpocket move. They set y'all up. They said, "Oh, these is the Guardians jerseys," and then behind the scenes, they did exactly what the Browns did. There's a whole new replanning. They brought the face mask back. They got rid of them terrible Arena League jerseys, and they got back to the old school stuff. Right there, these City Connects will become their regular jerseys.
I wish, but I doubt it.
Well,
I don't think you're allowed to have anything but the city of the team that you play in on the front of your road jersey.
it just says CLE.
Jay's correct.
Yeah,
No,
there's-
you need, baseball is really strict.
Really
weird
strict.
about that. Yeah.
Really
It
strict.
says you got to.
You're allowed to put your nickname on the home jerseys.
Okay, so
and the city in which you play on the front jerseys, or I think no, because New York has the NY as their logo, but it says New York on their.
So
road
it has to spell all the way out.
so
yes.
just put guards on the front then.
unless somebody knows something out there that I don't.
Like just get a red one and get a white one and put guards on there. But that Guardian logo with the baseball
That's
bat, that
fire.
needs to be the permanent logo. And
I
I think
couldn't
those City
agree more
Connect
with
jerseys,
that.
you need 2 or 3 different alternates of the City
We need
Connect
to throw that in the
jerseys.
chat. See what our fans like more: that logo or the existing logo.
Like I
The
need,
current poll I have up, and I'll end this and put the new one up, was how do you feel about the Guard City Connect jerseys? Like them, love them, hate them, or just meh? 36 love, 33 like, 26 meh, and only 4% says they hate them. So
man, I need that.
I'll ask about the logo.
I need that unrobed Roman on my hat too with the baseball bat. That's an unrobed
Toga
like,
Roman.
Man, that looked like Pontius Pilate right there, bro. with garbs on, like with a baseball bat. I like that. Put that right in the middle of the hat. I can get that off.
I don't want Pontius Pilate on my,
Yeah,
my
no,
uniform.
no.
I'm just, that could lead to bad things, bro.
You think it's unrest now,
But yeah, no kidding.
especially during March and April.
However, oh my God, I would say that I'm surprised that only 36% loved them.
I think they're good, not great. I think
Oh,
they're
you
good,
don't
not
love
great.
them then?
I don't. The hat. The hat's boring to me.
See,
That's
I like
boring.
the hat.
I'm not gonna lie. It's hard. It is very difficult to get as good as the old Indians jerseys. The one with the blue joint.
I know.
When they wore them blue with the red, the
Yep.
old whites was mean. Like I even listen. Back then.
So, see, get the C off, put the other logo on the front, and then you cook it with
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
them jerseys is fire. Like,
I like the piping on the pants too.
yeah.
Like it's just red, white, and blue, and it reminds me of the old, like the 1982-3 era when they had that.
It give you the major league vibes a little bit.
It does a little bit.
It
It
give you the
does.
major
Hey,
league
remember-
vibes.
Remember back in the day, Nelly and the St. Lunatics tried to make them baseball pants come into style. It didn't work. Like Cass was walking around with.
You was rocking. I seen
listen.
the picture. G had a Band-Aid under his left eye, and he had a backwards football jersey on. Some andale.
Let me ask you this: do
See,
you guys
he
remember
forget.
when the White Sox wore shorts?
I do. I remember those.
Mikey, see if you can call that up and show a picture to our viewer. I bet a lot of our viewers don't know that.
And I'm old, by the way.
Because you'd have to be at least 40-something to know.
What do you want when baseball players wore shorts?
Google, or I guess, does it have to be on Twitter for us to show it?
I'll find it. Just double
Okay,
check.
otherwise just Google White Sox uniforms, short pants.
And you see,
Them dogs were out there sliding, getting their legs all
ripped
beat up.
Like it was straight face too.
I bet you the picture he finds is Chet Lemon. You remember Chet Lemon? Those boys went out there with short pants. And they also had the old school, like, turn of the century collared uniforms.
Yeah, they had them like
That black pants and white shirts,
It looked
those
like
were fire.
It looked like I had a pea coat on up top. By the way, Earl, I'm old. St. Lunatics came out. I was in college.
You are old. Yeah.
When that came out, I was deep drinking beers.
I was already a professional by then, or trying to be one.
Man, you was already.
I was out here
Hey
trying.
man, Jay, you covered the '96 World Series, bro. You
95 and 97,
look,
not
look,
96.
Hey, listen, that's man. You've been out a long time. bro.
I've been in the game a minute.
It's so funny because I still remember watching Jay on ESPN when the Cavs won the championship.
I remember that talk.
The next day, I was down at Town Hall.
I remember I was
Ohio City.
still working for the city at the time.
Were you?
And I called my supervisor, Joyce Moore, the next day. I said, Joyce, I said, you know what it is.
I got the Cav flu.
I ain't coming to work. And they knew me. I was always been a sports junkie.
Sure.
So like when I called, she was laughing. She like, I was just waiting on long to see how long it was gonna take you to call me.
That was a wild day. Wild. Did you find that picture of the shorts?
We did. Steve, take tag.
Here we go.
Man.
Look at that, dude. That is flat nuts.
That would hurt to slide. Like
The guys were tearing their legs up. I
Yeah.
think they only wore them for a game or two. And they said, look at the shirts. They had the collared shirts.
These guys got capris
and it still
on.
just says Chicago across. It's still just a city.
Yeah.
These guys got capris on. My grandma used to have some shorts like that.
Capris.
Like-
Doesn't it look like they've almost were cut off?
Oh,
Like they
yeah.
took it, because look, the leg, it doesn't even look like the cut is straight.
This look
Yeah,
like
that looks like the ridge scissors they used to cut.
Yeah,
Kinda
the
make
ridge
like the further
scissors.
snowflake.
I remember those. Remember the ridge scissors? You
Oh,
get the zigzag?
on the side.
Zigzags.
The chat is agreeing with Earl and the rest of us that the new City Connect Guardian logo is better than the OG Flying G logo. Anthony, I think, is the only one who's going to die in the hill that the Flying G is like a good logo.
Flying G is just so.
and,
So,
and,
Anthony
and
died
I
in the hill.
should love the Flying G, but I hate it.
Yeah, you should. If
I should
anybody
love it. I should have that. I don't even own one of them hats. I refuse to get one. I just was like, give me the C up there.
You know, I did a little market research the last 2 or 3 Guardians games that I've been to, and it includes this year. And I just do like a sort of a rough head count of what the fans are wearing. And it's fewer than 10% by my count of fans that are wearing Guardians shirts or hats. It's still all predominantly Indians
They ain't never
by a
gonna do that.
mile. It's not even close.
We got some super chats to get to. We have 4 today. The first one comes from Donnie M. Donnie says, guys, it's time to start asking Cavs off-season questions. What free agents do you think could help this team next year, or what trade candidates would make this team viable in the playoffs next season?
McNuggets refuses to do that. He is not going to put that on the rundown. I'm letting you know that right now. We will not waste any of these games. We will talk about that as soon as they're done. But you guys ain't put that on the rundown.
Probably not.
That's not happening.
Off-season content will happen in the off-season.
I told you.
Happen in the off. Listen,
ain't
and,
getting
and
that
it's
off.
no disrespect to Donnie, who was our member of the week in the newsletter this week. So shout out to Donnie.
shout out
He's
to
an
him.
OG
Wow.
member. We love Donnie. But we have a playoff game tonight at home. Like, it's 2-1. It ain't 3-0.
Yeah, we can't start firing coaches
like-
and changing
Like,
concepts.
and it's driving me nuts.
As much as I would
And
like
once
to,
again, it's
but-
not a
we
dime.
do that off the air.
Yeah.
But, like, guys, like, it's 2-1. You're making it seem like this
You
is.
know, all the other series are 2-2.
They better.
Yeah.
The other 3 series.
Hey,
Well, no, Dallas is 2-1. Dallas OKC is
But-
2-1.
Yeah, but the 2 that have played 4 games
Are 2-2.
Are 2-2.
And that's my point. Like, off-season will come. We have like 5 months without basketball.
Yes.
We will talk trades and free agents and hires and fire. Like, that will all come. I promise you.
now if they get smoked
But
tonight.
there's only so many playoff games.
Yeah.
We got a playoff game tonight.
Yeah,
Tonight.
but G just whispered to me, now if they get
If they
smoked
get
tonight,
smoked tonight.
Well, maybe we do tomorrow. But that's like tomorrow. I'm saying tonight we got a playoff game. So
Tonight-
Donnie, I hear you.
tonight
I
we
promise
ride.
you.
Yeah,
Donnie,
6
I
hours.
promise you, and thank you for being a member, Donnie. Like I said, member of the week.
he's the Mo.
but
Member of the
just-
week.
The mole?
Mo.
Oh, the
M-O-W.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Member
we will get
of
to
week.
all the
I like
offseason
that.
stuff in the offseason. I promise you. We'll get to that. Charles T says the Cavs only have 2 consistent players and just a group of nightly maybes. It's almost impossible to coach. The bench has no 6-man caliber players that you can trust. If I'm JB, screw getting fired. I'm asking out. That's a spin zone.
That's a hot take.
That's a spin zone.
That sound like me in college. 2 nightly. Yeah, I got a couple of nightly maybes and 2 consistent ones, right? Like,
Yeah, you need, and you got to have that 6th player off the bench.
hey, you like, hey, man. Listen, I
Charles
saw you.
T.
You said nothing to me, G. Bush.
Charles also
You're
says
down in my rotation
this
right
team's
now.
6th man is in the starting lineup. Darius Garland
We're in the
missing wide
playoffs.
open shots at the clip is crazy. This roster is too young, like Earl said. And the last one, Jace, for you. Devoid Archangel says, thoughts on the Fry home run they called foul over the weekend?
Yeah,
Weird.
I know.
That's a really weird one.
Do we know? I wonder, I meant to look and see if they said anything afterwards about that.
I'll do a quick search. I haven't seen anything.
I looked. I was around a lot of different sites this morning, and I didn't see anything. But, yeah, I didn't understand that either. I mean, baseball replay is not great.
At all.
I'm just going to say it. Their replay is not great. There have been times where I'm convinced they've got it wrong. And it's supposed to be if the evidence is there. But, it's all that existing call on the field stuff. But I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard baseball fall on their sword.
Yeah, I don't see.
What's that baseball falling on the sword?
Listen, that's the worst way to go out. Stabbing yourself in the stomach with a bayonet. That's terrible.
I don't see any explanation as to why it wasn't overturned.
I don't. I mean, I just think that they missed it.
Yeah, I don't see nothing from MLB, nothing from the umpire's official account, nothing that says anything.
Now, if it was a Yankees game and it cost the Yankees, it'd be everywhere. But it happened to Cleveland, so no one cares. It's like a tree falling in the forest. If no one's there to hear it, it doesn't make a sound. That's nuts, man.
It's a lot of trees.
There's a lot of trees. Go Cavs, man. Go Cavs.
We're going to see, man.
7 o'clock. As Earl said, wear your damn shirt.
Put the shirt on. And if you're the Cavs, you better play it like it's a Game 7.
Somebody got...
Because if you don't win, the party is over.
If there's no technical fouls, if no one's on the floor, I need at least a hard foul, something. Like, I need you to show you.
Early, too.
They mean it.
Early.
Overtime.
Put Tristan Thompson in there to start the game.